Welcome to another Fireside Chat. We're at NodeConf EU 2023. I'm Cody Zuschlag, Developer Relations Engineer at Nearform. And Yagiz, I'm going to let you make your own introduction. Tell us who you are.
So first of all, thank you for taking me and inviting me to speak at here. I'm a Node.js technical steering committee member, an OpenJS Foundation voting member, and lots of other different roles. But I'm a contributor to Node.
A Node.js superstar is I think the way that I would summarize the list.
I'm a modus person, but I'm mostly focused on the performance side of Node.js. And I like to contribute things that can be communicated through quantifiable data, so there won't be any discussion. So that's why I
love that summary. Today we're going to talk about some of the amazing things you're doing around URL parsing. And for the folks watching this video, they should stick around to the end because we're going to talk about the Node.js community and some of the personal reasons that you got involved in that community and how those folks could get involved also. So stick around to the end.
Thank you.
When was the first time you came to NodeConf EU?
So it was last year, just before I became a collaborator of Node.js.
Okay.
It has a funny backstory, and the thing is, we recently moved to New York with my wife 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I was doing my master's, and I had to select a graduation project, and I didn't want to do something like a product or a mobile app that I can go on with and that doesn't have any impact at all. I wanted to do something meaningful with my time, and I've been a Node user and a developer for since 0.12. I don't know what that is, a long time ago. And I wanted to give back. So while looking at the GitHub issues and Node.js repository, I found one of James Snell's GitHub issue, which was to rewrite the URL parser in WebAssembly. So I started doing that. I learned Rust because it was my 2022 New Year resolution. So I compiled the WebAssembly and realized that there was lots of performance issues. And this led to, and I was one of the lucky few that got invited to here to speak about my experience. So I talked about URL parsers and how V8 affects performance and how can you optimize it, and that's what I spoke about.
So your talk last year was around URL parser.
Yes,
that's the same theme as this year.
Yeah, I think the title was Road to a Fast URL Parser in Node.js last year.
Okay, and this year?
This year it's Ada, parsing millions of URLs per second.
Yeah, actually I saw your talk today, and the statistics were just amazing. But I just wanted to point out what I thought I heard you say was you're looking for a place to have an impact in the community, something that was achievable in
a short amount of time,
or just achievable, like having that kind of objective. And for you, the logical choice was to jump in the Node.js community. Why the Node.js community, and was it easy to get involved?
So basically, I was afraid of a community about a project of this size because it's the unknown. I'm a really anxious guy. I have anxiety, and the unknown part of Node.js, it was something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to push myself towards it so then I can get over it and I can continue with my life without those anxieties. And what better way to do that with the most used libraries and runtimes in the world? And because I've been using for a long time, and after some time, you need to know the internals of it to progress yourself in the career and likewise. So I pushed myself, learned new languages, and I was just lucky. I just threw a rock to a lake, and Node.js replied. And the collaborators, they were all super supportive. I made lots of mistakes. I broke lots of LTS releases. I broke lots of Node.js builds, and there's no place in the world that I could get the same exact experience and chance to break something, because that's really valuable.
Ooh, I love that. I love that point you just made about we're going to break things and to have the community around us to guide us, to help us, to pick us up and point us in the right direction. And part of learning and probably just being human is breaking things and making mistakes and then trying to improve and get better. So the URL parser, you said your original implementation was in Rust?
Yes, I implemented in Rust, then converted into WebAssembly, and then I implemented the whole thing in JavaScript.
Oh wow! So why Rust to begin with?
It's one of those languages that I thought that I should learn for my career. And what better way to learn Rust than with a new project? That was my goal. And
Practical, intellectual.
yeah, and I assumed that it would be fast if I use Rust. That was initially my assumption.
Was the case?
It wasn't the case. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then we went to WebAssembly. So was that compiling Rust to
Yeah,
WebAssembly?
compiling Rust to WebAssembly so that it can be consumed by Node.js, because Undici had a really great case with the usage of WebAssembly.
Okay.
Because in that particular case, that it doesn't require any string allocations, it's beneficial to use WebAssembly because of those constraints. But for the case of URL parser, that you constantly pass a string between, it's extremely unperformant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So WebAssembly was not the ideal choice, or was the ideal choice?
For URL parsing, for operations that contain lots of string passing between them, WebAssembly shouldn't be the correct solution. But if you have a raw data, if you pass the parameters, but you have a CPU incentive task that you need to do, then WebAssembly is the perfect choice. For the companies like Figma, they are going with WebAssembly solutions because they are doing lots of CPU and GPU incentive tasks, and V8 doesn't have the capacity and the optimizations for doing that, but WebAssembly does.
Wow. Okay. And then you said you re-implemented it in JavaScript. Is that
Yes.
that
Yeah. I
latest,
basically said that, like, I run a benchmark, and then I said that it's whatever I do. Of course, there's a margin that there's a performance segregation because of my lack of Rust skills, but that margin was really huge compared to the current implementation, and it didn't make sense to go at that path.
Okay.
And I started implementing the whole thing from JavaScript. I did it. It became the fastest one compared to other JavaScript URL parsers, but it was still slow.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I spoke about my experiences about implementing those kinds of things in the last year's conference.
And so this year's conference, what was the new breakthrough?
So
And
so basically, while after my talk, I went to home. I was looking for ways to improve it, and I made a decision to implement the whole thing in C++ instead of JavaScript or Rust. And while looking into that, I stumbled upon Daniel Lemiray, which is a professor from Canada.
This was your co-speaker
Yes.
at the talk today.
Yeah, and I reached out to him saying that, like, I want to work on URL parser. I have done this and this, and, like, do you want to work together, basically? And one of my lifetime goals was to write an academic paper about it. And I couldn't find any other reason to do it up until now. So yeah, we started writing in C++. Initially, like, this project is the project that I learned C++. So my 2023 resolution is learning C++. So we basically spent 4 or 5 months optimizing the code.
Wow.
It's named after my daughter, Ada.
Now I understand there's a backstory about Node.js, NodeConf.
Yeah. So
and,
yeah. So it has a really
and your family. So
Yeah.
can we expand a little bit on
Yeah,
that?
definitely. So NodeConf, like, has a really special place in my heart because this year and last year I had some major breakthroughs in my life, in my family, in my job, and it's really special. So let's basically, yeah. Last year, while I was speaking, like around 7 p.m. or something, my wife called me and told me that I'm going to be a father. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because we were expecting it, but it's different it's really different when you hear it. So, and then I came to this exact room everybody was drinking and having fun, and I came to James, and he was talking with Matteo. I say that I just learned that I'm going to be a father, and I'm just going to go to home, like go to my room and like just talk with my wife and like have fun, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And they basically said that like, no, you shouldn't go anywhere. Like, we're going to get you some whiskey and we're going to celebrate this. I don't remember the rest of the night, but it was one of the most memorable nights because up until that, the NodeConf first day, even though I talked with online, I didn't know James, I didn't know Matteo, and I didn't know those people. And that warm embrace, I realized that I'm not alone, and in the world, I'm surrounded by really great friends that share the same exact interests with me and helping to make world a better place.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that story. And for context, we're talking about James Snell and Theo Ina, and I guess that's some of the magic about NodeConf, Nodejs, the community, that it is so warm and welcoming. I just feel we're so lucky to be here, but like the door's open, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I basically got out of my safe zone because like when I first came here, I was afraid to join to another group because like I didn't know anybody, and like it's really hard to join a community like this. And because I'm at the age of 30, I moved to a different country and I didn't have any friends. It was really hard for me to join, but the first day I remember, like I was talking with my wife, and she basically told me, "Okay, just go there and try to talk to people." And like even though I thought that I was like a guy that easy to speak, I was afraid at that time, and I made that push that literally changed my life. And I'm
literally, because I understand now you're heavily involved in the Node.js community and foundations.
Yes.
What's your roles now in that
So,
system?
if we think about sequentially, I became a Node collaborator last year, just after NodeConf. In in January, I founded the performance team, Node.js performance team. Around March, I became the performance strategic initiative champion.
Wow.
And in July, I was one of the lucky few to be nominated for the technical steering committee.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I joined the TSC, and a couple of months ago, I resigned from the performance strategic initiative. But I'm a TSC member. I'm an OpenJS Foundation voting member.
Wow. And this is all caused of just getting involved in the community and taking that leap. So for anyone watching us, just kind of a final note, if they want to get involved in this community or the open source community, what kind of advice could you give somebody who's tempted to make that first step?
I think the most motivational thing I can say is that whatever you fear the most in your life, it can be something really easy, like wearing a hat in a closed space. That might be something that you're afraid of. Okay. I was at that part.
Yeah.
Do that. Whenever you do those kinds of things 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times, whatever that count is, you will realize that those are the emotional barriers that we have in life, and you will get more and more confidence. That's literally what I did. In my 2022 resolution was to wear this is skirt, right? No, shirt. Yeah. So I basically to wear a shirt every time I got out of the home, because I was wearing t-shirts every time. And
a button shirt,
and I wanted to like that. This was something that, in order to boost my confidence and in order to feel more happy, I wanted to make sure that So I did that for a year. In 2022, I learned Rust because I was afraid of Rust. Everybody was saying Rust. The language seemed scary. And in 2023, I was afraid of C++. But the most important thing is to have the correct life partner. Because I always wanted to move to the United States. But up until I met with my wife, I didn't know how to do that, because I was always studying myself, and like And then in our second date, I asked my wife, like, do you want to come to the United States with me? And she like, I took a huge leap of faith, risk. It didn't seem like that at the time, but yeah. And then she said yes, of course. And then we got married a couple of months later, like 6 months, 7 months later, and 4 months later, then we moved to United States.
Start small, take steps,
Yeah.
just do it, and,
So,
and
like-
see what's possible, right?
Yeah,
And
so-
that's the way we'll expand. Love that. Yeah, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and I look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for Nearform for sponsoring and coming and planning all of those things. I'm really grateful for the things that Nearform is doing for the Node.js community.
We couldn't do it without you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Time.